For 152 years, Steward Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church has stood the test of time here in Macon, Georgia. Since its founding in 1865, the church has been involved in the struggle for spiritual and social freedom.
Well, initially, the church was founded in 1865, which was the year that the Civil War stopped and that slaves were free.
The original church burned in 1869. While searching for a new location, members tried to purchase this land here on Forsyth Street for $500, but the purchase came with some roadblocks.
Initially, I'm assuming that a Caucasian man put the payment down. They took it, who was the owner of the property at the time. Then when it was time to close, they did not allow us to close when they realized it was going to be purchased for black people.
But the landowner couldn't reverse the down payment. And on April 5th, 1889, the cornerstone was laid at its present location here on Forsyth Street. On October 10th of the same year, the members marched from their temporary location in a local armory into their new church. The church was a pioneer in establishing the first school for people of color in Macon, and nearly 60 years later, Steward Chapel would become a center for religious, political, and social change throughout the late 1950s and early 60s.
This was the hub for African Americans for their meetings, for the boycott meetings, for things of that nature. So they had most of the boycott meetings here for the bus boycotts and other things. So this has been a hub for the fight against the struggle for African Americans for more of a century.
A large place like Steward will give you the opportunity to discuss your issues, strategize on how you could work with them, get information here, disseminate it throughout the city, because at that time you didn't have the communication devices that you have now.
Hundreds of African Americans would walk through these doors and fill these pews to hear from civil rights activists such as educator Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, who in 1954 explained the importance of the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Topeka, Kansas Board of Education to desegregate all public schools.
We had Mary Bethune. She spoke of the injustices and the things that were happening to people of color and especially to women.
In 1957, 600 people braced the pouring rain to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. make his only major speech in Macon, entitled "There is no East and no West,"
which means that we're all kind of working together.
Other speakers included Dr. King's father in 1979 and the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Doing this 48 time of fasting is an opportunity to let some old things die.
Reverend Lavornia Franklin Jr. took the reins as pastor of Steward Chapel A.M.E. Church in the summer of 2016, opening the doors of the church to those looking to express their religious freedom. He says part of his ministry is to preserve the church's history by keeping its legacy alive.
To be a church, you got to have a community-driven church. So that's going to help us preserve another 150 years.
And as a member for more than 50 years, Henry Gibbs says Steward Chapel will continue to be a sanctuary in the fight for civil rights.
We try to be this, beacon of light. We encourage education. We encourage you to participate. We encourage you to be active in the community. Those are the things that we have always done here.